Hi, everyone. Welcome to A New View. I'm Lee, and I'm here with Juji, Kim, and Shira. We are four friends, speakers, and professionals from different cultures, backgrounds, and age groups coming together to offer healing and inspiration. Today's topic is about feeling lonely while we are in a relationship. Have you ever felt that? This topic came to me because it's something that I experienced in my marriage. So we're going to be discussing this today and sharing some of our own experiences. Ladies, who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Great.
I have to say, when I met Mike, my husband, at the age of 36, actually almost 37, I always felt lonely. I think in all of my relationships, it's kind of sad to say that out loud, but it's so true. Every relationship I had from when I started dating up until I met him, it never felt deep. It never felt easy. It never felt like I was their priority. It never felt like, I never felt that the man would want to know what I was doing every day, want to check in and hear how my day was going. It felt like there was like space or distance or something. They were emotionally unavailable. And I'm not, I'm making a blanket statement. It was a little bit of mix. Each guy would kind of bring something different to the table, and they weren't all bad experiences or anything like that. I had a lot of fun dating. But even in my 3-year relationship in my late 20s, I definitely felt lonely in the relationship. There was just this kind of more of the same of what I just described. And I don't know if it's a matter of like asking deeper questions, because as I get older, I definitely ask deeper questions now to really, really, really want to get to know the person. And I have more of an idea how to do that now in my life versus 20 years ago. But I just unfortunately never felt from a man I was dating this like really strong desire to get to know who I really am. So, I'm with Mike now, and Mike and I totally have that, and it's amazing. And I remember in the beginning it feeling so foreign to me. Felt so foreign. I was like, something's wrong here. Either waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for him to lose interest, waiting for him to we've been together 9 years now, and it just keeps getting better and it keeps growing. And we're like, our relationship is now deepening every single year. And I feel so grateful for that. But I definitely, for up until 36, 37 years old, remember a lot of the opposite. And you also, it's uncomfortable. And there's something in your soul that just knows it's not right. And I did a lot of avoiding that feeling, resisting that feeling, ignoring it, all that, because I wanted it to work out so bad. I wanted him to love me so bad. I wanted him to change how he felt about me so bad. And it wasn't until my mid 30s. I remember this one guy I was dating, first time ever. I think I was like 33 or 34 when there was that distance, that weird something. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't quite there. And I said to him, can you just tell me what's going on? How are you feeling about me? Because I really don't know. And I really like to know so that we can just, is this going somewhere? Is it not? Like, it was the first time ever I had just kind of gotten fed up with it and was like, this doesn't feel right. I'm just going to say something. Never did that before in my life. And he was definitely taken aback and was just like, what do you mean? I don't know.
And you were like, thank you for the answer.
Yeah. So anyway, I relate, and it's super uncomfortable. And my one piece of advice is just to ask yourself powerful questions like we've talked about, and just check in with you consistently about, like, how does this feel to me? Like that question, like I never asked myself that question. How does this feel? Does this feel good? Does this feel easy?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Kim, I so relate to what you said, especially about the not the guy not wanting to find out about you, not inquiring about you and your well-being, your thoughts, your dreams. Because I feel like in my marriage that I was in for 17 years, and I'm divorced now for 8, there was a lot of loneliness, especially in the last 10, 12 years, a long, long time, but I couldn't pinpoint that. I knew something was not right, and I knew it didn't feel good. It felt not good at all, but there was no connectedness for me. It wasn't so much about I want somebody to love me, but, or maybe that was a part of it. You know, maybe he doesn't love me because he's not really, he was very much into his work. He was very much into the business. He was very much into all of that and himself, that I remember I was a part of that too. I contributed to that by enabling this, I believe, in our relationship, because I wanted to make everything good. I wanted to make everything nice for him too. So it was always me asking about his day, about his business, about his next goal, about his intentions and his inspiration. But it took me a very, very long time at the end of the relationship to realize that this was not ever a two-way street, not with that. And it was something that I guess I got used to, that I didn't even know to label it loneliness, you know, but there was no connectivity either. We were not connected. The bond was really non-existent. I felt like I was alone in my relationship. You know, I raised my son pretty much by myself for the most part. But again, I feel today that had I known everything I know today, and had I done all the work that I've done up until today, I would have been much better able to handle it and fulfill that need for myself. Whether it was to leave the marriage sooner, or whether it was to fill in these gaps and voids that I had with things that would not make me feel lonely, you know?
Yeah, and sometimes, Lee, it just takes time. Well, it's the timing is different for everybody. That's all. I just
Yeah.
wanted to say, like, sometimes it can take years to get to that point, especially if
Right.
you're
And to recognize some of these things, like I never would have labeled it loneliness during those years, but it's like in hindsight, I'm like, wow, I was fucking lonely. I was, I mean, we had these marriage vows and to be together forever and to be there for each other. And there is an expectation that goes along with that, of like, that's going to be a great thing. That's going to fill all of these gaps, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. And it doesn't work that way, because just because somebody's there physically every night or for whatever time you guys are together, it doesn't fill that emotional need,
they need to be
which
there
goes way beyond.
emotionally.
Yeah, emotionally. Yeah, lonely emotionally. Yes. And later on physically too, but that's a whole nother topic.
Well, that's actually a really good segue to what I was going to say. And I think that actually this is a really good topic to lead into the walking on eggshells topic that we just had, because one of the things that, I feel like I avoided talking about like the plague in my marriage is that our physical relationship had kind of dwindled to almost nothing at one point. And I remember when it kind of started to fizzle out, I was so terrified of addressing it, because I was so scared. If I'm going to be honest, I was scared that my at the time boyfriend was going to tell me that the reason why he didn't want a physical relationship with me is because of something that I was doing, or like that I wasn't like meeting his standards in terms of what I looked like and all of that stuff. But because we never addressed it, like this was before we were married, this started. And I had this perception that if everything else in our relationship was good, then like that will just somehow work itself out. And obviously it didn't. So we got married and it didn't get better. It actually feels like it got worse in the sense that there was a level of feeling like I was being taken for granted. And what I feel sets, an intimate relationship apart from all other relationship is intimacy. So the fact that there was no sex in our marriage, we don't talk about sex a lot on this show, but because
there's another topic. Hello.
Absolutely.
I'm writing it down right now.
We're all over it.
Because there was like literally no sex in our marriage, I really felt like there was something wrong with me. I really felt like because I'm a sexual person, I need physical touch. That's one of my love languages. Yep, we talked about that. And I think that we can all agree that when we feel sexually rejected by the person who's supposed to love us the most, there is a sense of being completely alone in that. Because who do you talk to about that? I remember telling yes, I actually don't feel like I had the type of circle at the time that I could really share that pain with anyone. And actually, Kim, I feel like you were the first person I ever shared that with. And she was like, well, but that's not okay or normal in a relationship. I remember
I was more like, what the fuck?
That too, but the first person who ever pointed out to me that it's not necessarily normal is we were over at a couple's house who had two very young children. And I always remember kind of being jealous of this couple because the husband always looked at his wife like she was a snack, and I missed that look of he did. It was really sweet. And he would say, he said at one point, it's not marriage that kills sex in a relationship, it's kids. But he's like, but we still find time, as much as we can. And I was like, oh dear, we don't have kids. What's our excuse for why this isn't happening? And then I remember leaving and being, alone a lot afterwards. I spent a lot of time in my own space after I left that marriage and being like, wow, the fact that I'm not consistently being confronted with the fact that there's another human being in this space who is basically ignoring me makes me feel so much less lonely being alone.
Yeah.
And being with somebody who isn't engaging with me, isn't connecting with me, isn't attempting that. Now, listen, I take full responsibility for the fact that I did not speak up. I see that does not work. And also, I never set forth those expectations in our relationship. Before you take those marriage vows, be real clear. I need sex 3 times a week or it's going to be a problem. But I mean, that's even a little bit too specific. I feel like can definitely be discussion in between there. But if at any point I felt like, oh, this is not as much intimacy as I would like in a relationship, immediately I would be like, let's talk about it. What's going on? It's so important. And I didn't even know that I could demand that in a relationship. I just thought oh, I need too much,
Can I just say I'm sorry, just as your friend, I'm sorry that Juji and Shira and Lee, that you guys experienced that.
I'm not.
Oh, wait, I am so not, because
not.
I wouldn't be where I am today had I not experienced that. And what if you're not growing within yourself throughout your lifetime, what's the freaking point? Why are you alive?
Yeah.
So for me, I have had so many epiphanies about who I am. And Lee, you said before, it totally struck me when you said I didn't even know to name it as loneliness because I'm such a gregarious, outgoing people person that I, had tons of friends. And, my ex and I used to go out with couples all the time. But to Juji's point, but by the way, when you said look at them like they're a snack, that is the last word that I thought was going to come out of your mouth. I thought you were going to say what I was feeling, which is like they look at them like adoringly, or like
I thought she was going to say queen or
yeah, something like that, like a snack. I'm like, meanwhile, my current guy looks at me like I'm a snack, which is so nice. But anyway, side note, this is all so interesting to me because I have to mourn the person that I was before. Like I don't dwell on it, but I do look at her, and I'm able to now look at her previous me from afar now and go, wow, like you really were a lot, like you're such a physical touch, huggy, kissy, yes, sex, which I did not really have a lot in my marriage either. And I totally thought that was normal because it's like, well, we've been married for a long time. And then, but if I look back on it honestly, like we didn't have a lot of sex ever. So, but I mourn, all of that, but it's all brought me to where I am now. And you have to identify when you're feeling that kind of loneliness. You have to be very true with yourself, which I was not at all. You guys have seen me do my little quicksand, metaphor where it's just like, everything's fine, blah, 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 totally drowning. And I remember so much, like year after year, I would speak up. I would tell my ex, it bothers me that I see you hugging the dog and hugging the kids. And you're so, some husbands just aren't. Some husbands are not that touchy-feely, but mine was, except for me. So it's like, how do I not take that personally? Like, explain to me how I don't take that personally. And it would always be like this, excuses and just not saying not nice things to me, making me feel like it's my problem. And it's just so clear to me now that if they're not capable, I mean, there was no way for me to know that he wasn't necessarily capable. Over time, it became clear, but I still stayed. And so it's just very, very interesting when you're not in touch with yourself, these kinds of things can linger and fester. And that's what the show is all about, isn't it? Like just making people more aware of what we're doing to ourselves or not doing to ourselves.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, I as well don't regret it for a second. And it's interesting that you say that you mourned it or you mourned it. I don't think for me it was so much mourning. It was more like I now celebrate where I am. I'm grateful for all the experiences I've had. I need to be, and I'm proud to be these days because of where it's gotten me. But it's just more of a celebration of empowerment now, and it's also maybe more so for me was forgiving myself for letting it go for so long, for not being able to handle it so well then, where I am now thinks that way, thinks like, God, I would have done this and that. And like I think you mentioned, Shira, or maybe even Juji, like, so once I got out of that relationship, and I was alone and not in a relationship, and I still am not in a relationship right now. I'm so not alone.
Yeah.
I feel so abundant.
Yep.
The opposite of alone. So it's not your partner that necessarily needs to do it for you. It's great and it's good to have that, but we find it within ourselves.
Can I just say something? Because you just sparked something in me. And that is the reason, I hope I'm saying this the way my mind is thinking of it. The reason that we feel lonely in a relationship is because we're allowing somebody to reject us. We're allowing them to reject us. So we're actually making ourselves lonely because we don't feel like we're desired or wanted. But that's just that person's actions. Like, we can't let that dictate and define who we are. I don't know what, I don't know if I'm not saying anything like, whoa, that's earth shattering, but it just suddenly struck me that I was allowing myself to feel lonely because I took that rejection as, like Juji was saying, like either something's wrong with me or just making me feel less than.
And you were giving,
Totally.
when you were giving him all your power.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was, Lee, I love that you mentioned forgiveness. I was just going to add that. I was going to just say, one of our tools is to just practice forgiveness. And it all starts with forgiving ourselves.
Mm, love that. Forgiveness. And I think we may even have an episode about forgiveness,
I think we
if
did.
I am
We
not
do.
mistaken, because we have so many topics. And this is such a great place to wrap because thank you, ladies, all for sharing. We hope that you enjoyed our conversation today. Thanks for tuning in. And please let us know if you have any comments or questions, or if there's a topic that you would like us to request. We'll see you soon and stay safe.
Bye.